All right, welcome back to Remember the Texans. Your host, Nick Scurfield, here at the Apollo HOU headquarters, studios, worldwide HQ. I'm not sure what we need to call this, Noah, but
I think it was about right.
Okay.
I think that was perfect.
It's about right. And you can find us on the Apollo HOU network, on YouTube, on streaming platforms as well. This is week 3 of the podcast. We just finished week 2 of the regular season, the first 2 games of the DeMeco Ryans era. And we'll be diving into the first couple weeks, look at some silver linings here, talk about the good and the bad. We'll get into the last game against the Colts. We'll talk about CJ Stroud, speaking of silver linings. We'll look ahead to the J.J. Watt Ring of Honor game coming up, the next Texans home game, October 1st. And I'm going to close this out attempting to name, I think I'm going for 30 players this week on the 53-man roster. I'm going to get to them all at some point this season. I'm hoping by the middle of October. I tried this exercise in week 1, the first podcast.
Yeah, you did. You got 17 before,
17.
like on the first episode before the season. So you're
not
a couple
so hot.
weeks in.
Not so hot.
Yeah.
A couple weeks in, though.
Yeah.
And now, been watching the games. I learn about new players almost every other play. You'll see something happen. Noah Outlaw, shout out to our producer here and co-host Noah. Hosting, of course, Off the Gridiron, twice weekly show here on the Apollo headquarters. What do you think so far, man? 2 games into the season, what's your assessment of this team?
I'm happy. I really am. One thing I wish I didn't see was the injuries, but that's just going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. But that aside, I'm happy with a lot of the things going on. Through 2 weeks, like I said, a lot of silver linings. We'll touch on more this episode. But I'm happy. I don't need to win games. I need to see progress. That's
and here's the thing for me, and I talked about this on our first episode. This is really all about like rediscovering this team. I think especially after the last 10 years, the last 4 or 5 years in particular, with everything with Bill O'Brien, Jack Easterby, the entire debacle that's been going on, getting DeMeco Ryans back as head coach, getting all this young talent in, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, Jalen Petrie, Damian Pierce. A lot of my friends who are Texan season ticket holders, we've talked about it. I know a lot of people are actually going back to the games now. They're excited to tailgate, excited to get back out there. You could see it at the last game, man. Yeah. And that's, for me, I think, there's been an energy shift, a culture shift. Of course, you're going to have to see results at some point or else people are going to start getting pissed. We're all going to probably be miserable as fans. But I tweeted something about before this last game, how even though the Texans were missing like 4 or 5 key starters, Jimmy Ward, Tunsil, who else? We were missing like 4 or 5 offensive linemen.
A lot of offensive linemen.
Yeah. It's despite that, I felt like the Texans were going to win, and I'm just probably a stupid optimist with that kind of stuff. I feel like the Texans are actually maybe going to win every week.
Me too.
With the exception of 1 or 2 games. You kind of talk yourself into it, and you're just looking for those signs of hope. But I got to say, I don't think we expected them necessarily to win either of these first 2 games. Definitely not the first one in Baltimore. Would have been really nice. But sure, Colts, you'd like to win that game. Yeah. You'd like to see CJ beat Anthony Richardson in their first start. But more important to me is just seeing that CJ Stroud has been playing well. Yeah. And when we talk about silver linings from the Texans season so far through 2 games under DeMeco Ryans, I think top of the list, number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, it's all CJ Stroud. Yeah. And granted, they haven't won yet. He's still got to get that first dub in the NFL. But okay, let's talk about some of these numbers here. He's completed 58 passes in 2 games, which is second in NFL history behind Joe Burrow. 626 yards, 63.7 completion percentage. He got his first 2 touchdowns this past week. Josh was telling us a stat, and I think I favorited somebody's tweet by this. That what is it? From Patrick Storm. 213 more passing yards at Jacksonville this coming week, and CJ will move into the top 5 most passing yards ever by a player in his first 3 games.
That is outstanding.
It's great, and of course, you want to see the wins to come with that. Of course. But obviously, there is a lot going on in this roster. Talent-wise, transition-wise, that no matter how well CJ plays, it might not result in a win. Yeah. And I just think the fact that he hasn't thrown an interception so far when he's throwing, 97 passes or something like that. Yeah. You can see it when he's on the field. He shows a lot of poise. He's showing accuracy. Yep. A lot of people are saying, CJ Stroud is him, and the Texans have found their franchise quarterback. I don't know. I want to believe that. I don't know if we're going to go that far quite yet. But I think, definitely compared to Bryce Young, the number 1 pick, he's looked great. And I even noticed at the game this last week, the very last series of the game, he was playing to the final whistle. I think he got sacked on the very last play. He did, yeah. But you could see the effort there, and he was running around trying to find a way to make a play. He's got a good connection with Nico Collins, a really nice connection with Tank Dell. There were 2 clear-cut quarterbacks at the top of the draft with him and Bryce Young. A lot of Texans fans, myself included, were initially hoping to get Bryce Young. He was the number 1 prospect. But, you think about what he did against Georgia in the college football semifinal against basically an NFL defense. You look at his history at Ohio State. I love what he says, in his press conferences, in his interviews. He's very humble. He's a team-first guy. He's giving all glory to God. He's doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Regardless of your preferences on the religious side of things.
Right.
He is a dude who seems like he's got a great head on his shoulders. Yeah. And he seems really motivated.
Yeah, he had a really rough upbringing as well. So really hearing the way he speaks, I feel the same way. And like I said, whatever you feel about the religious aspect of it, the fact that he has something that he cares about so much and is so grateful for whatever he believes in, and the way that he just handles himself at the podium is really, really good to see. And he's so young but so mature. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's got the captain's patch, and the fact that he's named a starter pretty much from the get-go, I think tells you a lot. The Texans had a guy in Davis Mills last year who's still on the team. He's the backup. If they felt like CJ wasn't ready, they could have still played Mills for a few weeks. But and Case Keenum behind him as well, who I think has got to be like a player coach at this point in his career. He's been around so long. But I just think he's shown a lot of great signs. And we got a Matt Schaub jersey behind us here in the studio. That is the all-time leading passer in Texans history, right? We've had Brock Osweiler. We had Deshaun Watson, who we thought was the franchise quarterback. And then, he requested a trade. And then, all this other stuff, allegations came out. He was out for a year. Now he's in Cleveland. There have been so many quarterbacks the Texans have cycled through trying to find that guy. Yeah. And the idea that we might possibly have that with CJ Stroud, to me, we could be sitting at 0-5 a few weeks from now. If CJ Stroud is still balling out, I'm going to be fucking fired up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, it's interesting at the game. I know that you go to a lot of games. You weren't there this weekend.
No, I was not. No.
And it's well, first of all, I forgot to wear my Liberty White, so I felt like I botched that a little bit.
What jersey were you rocking?
I was wearing actually a black Trillburgers t-shirt.
Oh, well, hey, support the brand.
And I had a Texans hat on that was from the 2011 Division Championship hats. It's just all-time Texans team.
Of course.
So I'm wearing black. I felt pretty good about my fit. I had some red shorts, some yellow shoes for Trillburgers.
There you go.
And I realized as I pulled up that, damn it, it's Liberty White Day. But my girlfriend told me, as she helped to drop me off, she told me I would stand out in the stadium. So,
there you
go. So thanks, babe. But I love when they do the Liberty White out. I love the Battle Red Day. I don't know. I think the announced attendance was 71,000. I don't know if it was quite that much.
Right.
But it was definitely a good crowd in there. It felt like, the start of a football season again. And I would say the end of the game was at 31-20. Once, we had turned it over late in the game, whatever it was, where the game was clearly over. People started filing for the exits the last few minutes. That to me felt like how it had the last few years at the start of the game. So I think we've come a long way, and of course it's the opener, so we'll see how it continues to progress. But I just think in general the excitement is there. Now the results are going to have to change at some point, and I'm going to be really happy for DeMeco Ryans when he gets his first win.
Oh yeah.
But I think between CJ Stroud and the receivers, those are probably unexpected positives from the first part of the season. At least with the receivers, people talk a lot about Dameon Pierce, the offensive line, the defense being maybe strong points of the Texans this year.
Yeah.
And those have been struggling. Whereas now you have Nico Collins, 148 yards and a touchdown. Tank Dell, man, the rookie from Houston.
Yep.
I got him on both of my fantasy teams, and I'm proud of that. I played him in like my biggest money fantasy league last week, and he came through. He almost had 2 touchdowns.
Nico?
No, Tank Dell.
Oh, Tank. Nice.
Tank Dell. And he literally, Yahoo shows you, the percentage of leagues a player started in.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Tank was at like 0 or 1%. But I went with him, and he almost had 2 touchdowns. One was called back.
Yeah.
But he's quick, man. He's electric. And I think that, that's all I'm looking for right now is just signs of progress.
Yeah, same. It's absolutely. Like, I just need to see this team progress. And like the wins, like you mentioned, I want to see D'Amico get that first win as soon as possible. But they're dealing with a whole lot of stuff. But the fact that CJ Stroud, despite the offensive line issues and the defense, week 1 especially, losing guys, the fact they've done what they've done already is really impressive. And I'm so happy with what D'Amico's done already. And Bobby Slowick as well. Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, called a really good game on Sunday against the Colts. And you'd like to see the win, but Anthony Richardson came out hot, and there was a whole lot of stuff going on that, they'll clean up.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of injuries right now too. Mm-hmm. And, you're looking at this as a long-term thing. I am a firm believer 2026 is going to be the year the Texans win the Super Bowl, and I'll be repeating that week by week because I feel it. And that's, what is that, 3 years from now?
Yeah. I'm
cool with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 21 years so far. 2007 was when I moved here and started working for the Texans. I think we'll get there, but it's going to be a little while. But I'm looking at the schedule here, and again, I'm saying Jacksonville this weekend, we can win that game. When in reality, Trevor Lawrence has been. I mean, he looks
Lights
like
out.
I mean, I think that's going to be a really strong team this year for the next few years with him. Steelers game, Ring of Honor for J.J. Watt. I think we could win that game. Falcons game, could win that game. Saints, Panthers. I feel like there's a lot of winnable games here on the schedule. Maybe the Texans win one of them, but
maybe
I sucker myself in every week to thinking it's a winnable game, man.
Yeah.
But the good thing is where we are right now. Sounds weird to say, but it's almost like the preseason. I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
It's like we're going. And I want to say, looking ahead to that Steelers game, that's going to be the game of the year in Houston.
Yeah, it is.
It is October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Houston Texans against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Might as well call it the J.J. Watt game. It's the J.J. Watt Ring of Honor induction ceremony. It's the homecoming game. Last week on the show, we had Amobi Okoye, former defensive tackle. He was already talking about how many alumni are going to be at that game for JJ. And that's going to be special, man. He did a big dinner with a bunch of the guys at, I think, B&B Butchers earlier this summer when he announced his retirement, and 20, 30 guys there. I got to imagine, like, damn near half of the entire, alumni base of Houston Texans players is going to turn out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that's the guy, he played for the team from 2011 until, 2 years ago?
2020, I think, or 2021, something like that.
Yeah, and, obviously a universally beloved guy in the city of Houston. At the previous game against the Colts this past weekend, it was 31-20. The stadium was clearing out. I mean, it was like maybe a minute left in the game or 2 minutes left in the game. And it was kind of depressing. And all of a sudden they put something up on the video board that said, as a reminder, Texans fans, your next game. And they said it's versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, where J.J. Watt will be inducted in the Ring of Honor. And the whole stadium started cheering.
It was nuts.
It's like the loudest cheer probably heard in the last 5-10 minutes of that game.
Yeah.
But, I think that's going to be, it's definitely going to be the toughest ticket of the year. We got the Beyonce concert this weekend at NRG. Next weekend, J.J. Watt. It might be the 2 biggest events of the whole fall in Houston. And that's going to be a fun one, man. I think that's going to be a pretty special game. And, I'm sure, J.J. is going to do it big. Well, especially, yes. Sorry, Josh just chimed in. Except for the Astros World Series as the biggest events this fall.
Right.
Knock on wood. Hey, they won against the Orioles their last game at least. So
yeah.
As of this recording, the Astros are still first in the American League West. So
yeah, the Pittsburgh game is by far the most expensive ticket of the year so far.
Is it?
For example, the Buccaneers, the cheapest ticket for when the Buccaneers are in town is $19. The cheapest ticket for the Steelers J.J. Watt induction ceremony is $144.
Damn.
So people want
better get those tickets now.
Yeah, they're gonna go up.
Wow. What's the most expensive ticket you see for that game?
Let me look. Hold up. Give me 1 second.
Damn, I should have planned ahead and got my tickets a little sooner.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Actually, I think if my friend told me he's going to bring me to the game. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What friend?
Washington Ho. I actually met up with him at the last game. He's the star of House of Ho on HBO Max.
Oh, damn.
And all around good guy. He just launched a THC seltzer called Ho Buzz with Tony Busby.
Oh, nice.
And we're working with him with my PR agency, and Washington was kind enough to invite me to this upcoming game. So since I'm saying it here, I think he's going to be like, contractually bound.
Yeah, absolutely.
To keep me there.
Now you have to be, yeah. But the most expensive ticket for the game that I can find is section 127, second row, $2,200. And this is a bad deal, I think, honestly. I think like this, someone's trying to get.
What
you.
yard line's that on?
The 50. I mean, that's like it's right there. It's right there. Someone's gonna buy that.
Yeah, yeah. You could probably use that money on something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or on like 5 or 10 tickets for the
just
game.
go get, if you want to spend that money, go get one of the $500 tickets, and then go get a nice dinner or something.
Yeah. Well, another thing that it was the very end of the last game that I think was a great thing to see. John Mechie got his first career catch. Actually, I think it was the second to last play of the game.
Yeah.
And I have a thing with football games where I want to be there before kickoff in my seat, and I'm going to be there through the final whistle in my seat.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit there have been a couple times in the past 10 years I haven't held to that for the Texans.
Of course.
As a general policy or rule of thumb, though, with baseball, I'm a little different. I was talking to Dez on the BTD podcast here earlier this week.
Yep.
I went to like 41 Astros games this year, and I'll get there an hour late or I'll leave an hour early.
Yeah.
It's a long season. I don't feel that guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
I will miss. It seems like every time I leave Minute Maid Park, I would hear something like that, like just a loud, like thunderous applause and fireworks.
Yeah, exactly.
Home run or walk off or something. But football games, I like to be there at the beginning. I like to stay till the end. And sitting there at the end of the game, 2 plays left. I think they announced that maybe Robert Woods got a catch or something, and then they said correction. It was John Mechie with the catch, and got a nice little applause.
Good.
But man, what is he? About a year or less than 2 years removed from?
About a year and a half removed from being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, I mean leukemia. And he's second round pick out of Alabama. Obviously had a great college career, but that's just an inspiring story. And you hope that he's going to continue to get to do more.
I have big expectations for Mechie. I think he was so talented in college. And look, whenever that happens and you go through that, the recovery of that, look, you're not going to be football ready immediately. And he's through training camp was kind of slowly progressing. Didn't play week 1, was finally able to suit up week 2. Had the 1 catch for 14 yards. But I have high expectations for Mechie. I think he's going to continue to work, get back to football shape, and I think he's going to be a really good player for the Texans.
I mean, that's one of those guys you could see there, being a movie made about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he continues, I think even if he never played another snap, the fact that he got back and caught a pass in an NFL game, huge accomplishment. Shout out to John Mechie for that, man.
Shout out, John.
All right, so there's some other players I've learned about over the last few weeks. I'm just going to review some of these with you, and then we can get into a little guessing game at the end to see how many I can list off. So Denzel Perryman was a guy I wasn't that familiar with. I've heard his name a lot the first couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And in a good way.
Yeah. No, good player. Was a Pro Bowler 2 years ago for Oakland. Kind of had a off year. Was a free agent. We picked him up, and I've loved him.
Rest in peace to the Oakland Raiders, by the way. Now man, Oakland losing all their teams to Las Vegas is tough.
I know.
Steven Nelson in the first game had an interception. I didn't even know he'd third round pick of the Chiefs. Previously had been on the team for a whole year.
Yep.
Shows just how little I guess I took in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Jonathan Grenard in the first game, he had a huge game. He and Will Anderson. He had a sack, a couple tackles for loss, 8 tackles. Another guy who was relatively high draft pick, third round draft pick. And it's like, I'm watching these like, oh yeah, I think I remember hearing about that now.
2021, he had a big year. 2022, he was dealing with some injuries. 2021, I think he ended with 8.5 sacks. Solid year for especially, it might have been his rookie year or his second year. But yeah, I have high expectations for him this year too.
Well, you know, I didn't get into much about the first game last week talking with Amobi Okoye. We were talking a lot about his memories of the Texans. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, on the last episode when I asked Amobi Okoye what his favorite memories were of the Texans, the first thing he said was the Andre Johnson fight and against Cortland Finnegan, which is great because I think that's most fans' favorite memories as well. Course. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Famer, a guy who should be in the Hall of Fame, and it's definitely one of those career highlights, kind of like Nolan Ryan with Robin Ventura. It's something people are always going to remember when Andre Johnson punked Cortland Finnegan. Yeah, you know? And in and of itself, deserving of a spot in the Texans Ring of Honor.
Of course. Also, I just want to throw this out there. It was opened up again today. Andre has been nominated for the Hall of Fame again for the third year in a row.
Okay.
We got to get him in.
We got to get this man in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to tell you the greatest receiver of his era. He was the best receiver in the league for a solid 5 to 7 year stretch. It was him and Larry Fitzgerald every year. Yep. And Fitzgerald got to play in a Super Bowl. Andre did not. Yep. But Andre was putting up crazy numbers with a crazy rotation of quarterbacks, with horrible offensive lines, with historically bad teams when he started out in 2003. Yep. He was the only he was the star for the Texans.
He was.
And you know, one of the only things that made this team nationally relevant in the early going, certainly not the only thing, but one of them. And also I think the Hall of Fame, they like to reward guys who play the game the right way, who did things with class and integrity. And I mean, that is Andre Johnson to a T. You know, I just think most humble, soft-spoken guy. He was in the era of the diva wide receivers, the Terrell Owens, guys who were friends of his. T.O. and Chad Ochocinco is a good friend of his from Miami. But Andre was always, very soft-spoken, led by example. And I just think of all the crazy catches that he made throughout his career, the ability to take over the game. His position coach in Houston, Larry Kirksey, the old wide receivers coach, was also the wide receivers coach for Jerry Rice in San Francisco. He would talk to me about showing game tape to Andre of Jerry Rice's games, and he would talk to me about showing other players the comparisons between Jerry and Andre and their similarities. And I think on a per game basis, just you look at what he did. I mean, it's pretty much what Larry Fitzgerald, Andre, and Calvin Johnson. There was a period of time where those are the three guys who just dominated the league. And we're going to be all aboard the Andre Johnson Hall of Fame hype train. And thank you for calling that out, Noah.
We are, he's so deserving.
First player in the Texans Ring of Honor, should be the first Texans Hall of Famer. J.J. Watt obviously is going to get in the Hall of Fame,
first ballot, no doubt.
Maybe they'll be neck and neck. Yeah. But I hope Andre gets in sooner than later. We know there's going to be more receivers.
Of course.
He's been a finalist now, and I think you're going to see him get support. I'm hoping this is the year he gets in. I know I'm going to be up there in Canton, cheering him on. I think about when he had his induction into the Ring of Honor a few years back. It was one of the only Texans games I went to that whole season. Was it 2019 maybe? Or it might have been 2020. Whenever it was. And I remember I literally showed up at the game, completely contradictory to what I said earlier about being there for the beginning and end of games. I showed up second quarter of that game wearing an Andre Johnson jersey, watched the Ring of Honor ceremony at halftime, and literally left like 3 minutes into the third quarter. Andre, man, and from having worked there for the team when he played there, I just think he's a guy that everybody in Houston, has a lot of love for. He's a guy who represented the Texans and the league in the right way for a long time, and he put up the numbers, and he dominated. So we will be. I think we're gonna have to do like a whole episode just devoted to Andre Johnson and his Hall of Fame, credentials. So we'll get on that later in the season. But I don't even know what we were talking about right before that.
Yeah, no, that was most important. We're about to do we're going to the depth chart.
Okay, we're going for the depth chart. Okay, let's see.
And you're going to try to list all the
fellas. All right, let me get to some of these notes here so I can remember a few. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention. I didn't know our punter's name, even after going to the last game and watching the first game, and I feel like we've punted a lot. And the punts have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Ty
Zentner.
For those of you following at home, that's Zentner. Zentner.
Yep.
Rookie punter from Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know about him. And he's averaging like 43 or 44 yards a punt so far.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, same. I don't know much about him. He was kind of a recent pickup for the Texans. But he's been good. And Cameron Johnston is the full-time punter, and he's just on the IR right now. So
yeah, these are all things I had no idea about. And I consider myself to be like a pretty committed Texans fan.
Yeah.
But like we said, and if you're listening, you can probably relate. The last few years have been pretty tough.
Yeah.
And I try to watch all the games on TV, but after a couple quarters, so it gets hard sometimes. But that's the purpose of this whole endeavor here. Remember the Texans. We're trying to, get back on the battle bandwagon, so to speak. So, and another guy that I didn't know about as well, Quitoriano, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Tegan Quitoriano.
Yeah,
backup tight end to Dalton Schultz. He's got a lot of potential. He hasn't really had a chance yet, like most of these receivers, honestly. CJ's opening the door for a lot of these guys, just being able to get the ball around more than quarterbacks in the past. Tegan is a guy that I'm hopeful for. I want to see him break out.
Yeah, 5th-round pick last year out of Oregon State. I just like that his name really reminds me of Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
And I think he had a touchdown against the Eagles in the Thursday night game last year, and had a few catches in the forgettable victory against the Colts last year as well in Week 18. So
he's showing some flashes.
Yeah, but I was reading about him after the first game, and I was like, this guy started 6 games as a rookie. I literally had no effing clue.
Yeah.
Man. I'm like, so I'm glad we're doing this. It's forcing me to pay a little more attention.
Yeah.
And without further ado,
I'm ready.
I'm going to attempt to name as many players on the Texans roster as I can.
Mm-hmm. And I pretty much know the 53, so you should, if I hear a name I don't recognize, I'll go fact check it. But
okay, and I'm not going to cheat and look at my computer.
Yeah,
I was referencing notes earlier, but no cheating. This is all on the honor system here.
Yes.
All on the up and up.
I'm keeping an eye.
When we did this in before week 1, I got to 17. It was pretty laughable.
Yeah.
I set an over-under for myself of 30, which feels like a reach, but I'm going to go for it.
I like the line. I think that's a good line.
All right. So here we go. We'll start with quarterback. We've got C.J. Stroud, Davis Mills, and Case Keenum.
Yep.
Go Cougs. I forgot Case Keenum the first time, which I could not believe.
I can't believe you did that.
We'll go to running back. And I already know there's some people I'm forgetting. Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary. I can't remember any other running backs or fullbacks, so let's not even go there. Wide receiver, Robert Woods, USC Trojan. I went to USC, by the way.
Sure.
Robert Woods, USC Trojan. Put up some nice numbers so far, been a nice security blanket. Of course, Nico Collins. He's been balling out. Tank Dell. Noah Brown. Is he on IR?
Yep.
We'll count that maybe?
Anyway? No. On IRs, as long as they're on the roster.
Okay. John Mechie.
Yep.
And, man, we're going to move on. Dalton Schultz, tight end. Also got Tegan Quitoriano. Tegan Quitoriano. Okay.
Yep.
I think we'll count that one. Laramie Tunsil, left tackle. Kenyon Green.
Yep.
Forgot about previously, also on IR.
Mm-hmm.
Juice Scruggs, also on IR.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, well, doing our best here.
Yeah.
I want to say, is it George Fant? Is that an offensive lineman?
That is.
Okay.
Been playing right tackle.
I saw him in one of the Ravens game. Number, is that 74?
74, I believe.
Okay, there we go. I'm making progress
Yeah.
here. Titus Howard.
Yep.
Also injured at the moment.
I just wanted to make note. You were at 17, so you're at you.
Okay, we've improved.
There is improvement.
I mean, the IR seems like it's kind of cheating, but we're gonna just run with it.
Those are the guys.
I think I'm tapped out on the offensive lineman, for better or worse at this point.
Yep.
We got tight ends, we got wide receivers. Okay, we got 17 on offense. Okay, defense, Jonathan Grenard. We talked about him on this show.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting young player, I think, who's kind of a veteran on this team. Will Anderson Jr., Defensive Rookie of the Year. You heard it here first. I'm sorry, Jalen Carter. I know he's getting all the hype in Philly.
I'm not sorry, Jalen Carter.
Yeah, Will Anderson, the Terminator, is going to be the Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
I think he'll have at least 2 sacks against Trevor Lawrence this week. At least 2 sacks. Let's see. Now I'm blanking on it. Sheldon Rankins.
Yep.
I think it was a first-round pick of the Saints, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle. Henry To'oTo'o.
Yes.
Another Alabama player, D'Amico Ryans. I like that he's getting these Bama guys in the front 7. Oh, boy. Jerry Hughes, another guy.
Yep.
Met him at the Texans open training camp practices. After practice, he tried some Trill burgers we were catering for the team.
Nice.
Super nice guy, man.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. Okay. I think the more I talk, that means I'm stalling.
Yeah.
That's what happened last time.
You're at 23.
23 players.
Or you have 22. This will be 23. I assume you can get a couple more.
Yeah, don't assume too much here. Okay, I'm just gonna go to the secondary.
Yep.
Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie, Derek Stingley Jr. Stingley, of course, is out for a few weeks, right? That's what you said.
We don't have confirmation, but it's looking like it might be 6 to 8 weeks.
That's too bad, man. I'm excited to see him play. He'll have plenty of time, I think, to become a great player under D'Amico Ryans in this system. Steven Nelson. Okay, what are we at now?
Steven Nelson was your 26th.
Shit. Okay. Steven Nelson at 26. Denzel Perryman.
Yep.
Okay. 27. 28. Kaimi Fairbairn.
Yep.
29. Ty Zentner.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, we've been talking about this punter. Get him in there.
And number 30, it feels great to cross over this threshold with my favorite player on the entire 53-man roster, the greatest long snapper in the history of the NFL, number 46, John Weeks.
Yes, sir.
That's 30.
That's 30.
I literally think that is all that I know.
You tapped out?
I'm gonna say that's it, man. I'm ending right on the dot.
All right. Hey, you got to what your goal was. You hit the line. You pushed. A lot of people in Vegas are mad.
Ooh.
But.
Ooh, wait. Should I? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a push. Damn it. You're right. Can I hit 31?
Could you? There's some guys I think you could pull.
I think there are, but.
There's a guy on. I'll say this. There's a guy that you said last time that you didn't say today.
No shit.
Yeah.
Feels like a linebacker or something, you know? I mean, it feels like. I should definitely know. I mean, I missed like at least 3 starters on the defense. Linebacker. I feel like I need a hint. Can you give me a hint?
I'll just say you mentioned Henry To'oTo'o being a Bama boy.
Oh, Christian Kirksey. Oh, sorry, Christian Harris.
Yeah.
Christian Kirksey.
Yes, Christian Harris.
All right, 31.
31.
Oof.
Vegas is happy.
I'm sweating in the hot seat over here. All right, who are some like obvious names here that we missed?
You know, honestly, obvious. I wouldn't say a lot. I mean, you kind of got all the bigger names. I would say maybe Tavier Thomas is a guy that people would have mentioned. Eric Murray.
Yeah.
Shaq Griffin. But other than that,
Shaq Griffin, man, I should have.
Yeah, but other than that, that's pretty much. Everyone else is like backup offensive linemen that we're not too worried about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dare
Ungabawale. Yep.
Andrew Beck.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else we got? Brevin Jordan. I knew I was.
Oh, Brevin. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. All right. You know, the defense. I feel like. I mean, I ought to be at least able to name all the starters. You know.
Yeah, of course.
That's
which you did.
Most of them, I think.
Yeah, you got 31, so only 20. There's only 22
hey, man,
starters.
I'm feeling pretty damn good about.
No,
31.
that's a great Nick. You killed. That was great.
Thank you, Noah. My weekly confidence booster here. But well, that about wraps it up. Anything you're looking forward to, Noah, these next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how the Texans match up in Week 3, getting CJ's, getting that speed of play under his belt a little more. I'm excited to see what he does against Jacksonville, big divisional game. Jags are good team. Trevor Lawrence. I like your prediction about Will Anderson getting 2 sacks.
2 sacks.
T-Law.
2 sacks this week.
I hope to see it. And I like Trevor. I don't like seeing him get hit. But this weekend I do.
Yeah.
This weekend. That reminds me. I didn't even mean to, but do you remember that moment when J.J. Watt was mic'd up and they were playing the Saints and he was like, "I like Drew. I don't like hitting him like that."
Yeah.
Dude. Well, that's how I feel about Trevor. And my boy, the Terminator.
He seems like a nice enough guy, but
He does.
Oh yeah, MJ Stewart, another guy we missed.
Yep.
Has 15 tackles.
Yeah, MJ
through 2 weeks, second on the team, and
Yep.
Tavierre Thomas, 13 tackles so far through the season.
Sadly, Tavierre Thomas is out for the year.
Out for the year.
Yes, it's a bummer. But
Oh shit, we got more guys to learn.
Yep, we're gonna have someone come up.
More things to remember. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on another riveting rendition of Remember the Texans. Like, subscribe, unsubscribe, review, 5-star rating, something like that.
Got it. He's got
Getting
it.
it down. Apollo Des
Yep.
gave me the cues in the baseball show the other day, but I'll work on that one too.
It's all so unnecessary what he says too. Don't even worry about it, dude. He just blabbers on.
That's about right. But no, appreciate everybody for tuning in. The journey continues.
Yep.
We'll be looking for that first win, and look forward to Noah talking to you and everybody else in the weeks to come.
Yep. Same. Exciting times.